All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, welcome to Mediocre Rumble Brothers. I'm Jordan, your host, and the team Corey, Edwin, and Udon. Today we'll be discussing the good, bad, and ugly of backtracking in video games. But before we do, let's go ahead and discuss what we did for the week. Corey, how about yourself?
I just finished playing the game of the month. That I'm grateful for because, man, I played the PS2 game Shadow of Destiny this week. Oddly enough, I sat down and played it like start to finish, which is great because it kind of pertains to this episode anyways. And I've brought it up before, I think, into the obscure games. And the Elden Ring DLC came out this Friday, so I've been playing a lot of that. It was basically all I did yesterday was play Elden Ring for like 12 hours. But aside from that, not really anything else. There wasn't any more time. I was just diving it into those three things.
Okay. So even though it was like the same week as the release of Elden Ring, I decided to, because it was on sale. I did a lot of research before I bought this game, but everyone says it was like the story is the only thing that sucks, and then a lot of it is kind of cringy. But I was like, if you enjoyed the past games, then you'll enjoy this one. And that game was Tiny Tina's Wonderland.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I was like, well, it was like on sale. It was like the 100. It was like the $89.99 bundle.
Yeah, they have to put it on sale because no one would buy it otherwise.
Yeah, so I bought it. I was like, oh, it was like 75% on sale. I was like, fuck it. It was like because it's like I already played. No, I've never played the first one because it reminded me of like how colorless the first Assassin's Creed was. I was like, I don't want to play this. I played the second one and I played the third one. Obviously, the second one has better story, but the combat in 3 is what does it for me. And then the same combat in Wonderland is the same reason too. It's not as cringy or like terrible writing as everyone says. The story is, I got to the point where it's just like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Where it's just like, hey, it's a D&D game run by Tina, but eventually, if you get far enough, she's no longer in control of it, and the game just comes to life. So it's like no, wasn't like the first game, the first DLC of the D&D thing, where it was just her trying to get over the fact that Roland is dead. But this one is just like, well, now the actual enemy piece is in control of the entire game. So now he can like literally do whatever he wants. So far, he's my favorite character. My least favorite character is my own character. That my own character has the shittiest writing. I was like, all the jokes that she makes and all the comments, just like, don't fucking talk at all. But I like the support character, Valentine. He's pretty funny. And then I had to look it up because her voice sounded very familiar. It's like a robot that's like also supporting you on the D&D table and is played by Wanda Sykes. It's like that's a very like specific voice, so like it had to be her. But the story is kind of whatever. Now it's whatever, but I just got to the point where like actually changed because the enemy is now in control of it. So I have no idea where the story's going to go from there. But the combat is pretty much the same as Borderlands 3. It's like a lot more maneuverability. The weapons are kind of cool. Granted, it's also kind of dumb. I see where like the one comment where it says like it's just a cover for of D&D for Borderlands. Like some of the weapons are kind of cool. Probably my favorite part is just that the fact that they changed the grenades to spells. So it's like there's a bunch of different kinds. So it's a lot more help. There's like the same thing where it's like, oh, a specific grenade is more tied to a specific class. It just works better. But it just works. They work better than just regular grenades because they actually all of them do pretty much tracking or some kind of useful ability to help you. And it's just like regular D&D abilities, just fire, ice, and all that shit.
I mean, D&D goes a lot farther beyond that. Like Tiny Teen, I was excited for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands when it first came out. Firstly, I don't know if you've noticed, but that game isn't rated M. It's actually rated T because they like vastly downgraded the gore from Borderlands 3. And because if you notice, no one's head explodes. There's no all the blood is green because you're fighting goblins and skeletons and stuff like that. Even though in D&D you're going to be fighting regular ass bandits, which you do in the game anyways. But it's like you hardly notice. There's barely any blood. I think the writing in the game, like when it comes to the meta jokes, when it comes to tabletop, because I'm a dungeon master and I have played D&D every other weekend, so I'm fairly well versed in D&D. When they have like a meta joke occasionally, it's pretty funny. Like clearly the people who are writing for it have played D&D or some other like adjacent like Pathfinder or some other like tabletop RPG before, so they like get it. But when you're just kind of taking the Borderlands experience and like nerfing it, I don't really care for like, especially like the classes is all of them are really boring. The powers are really boring to me. You don't just go from being able to like for example, in Borderlands 3, you have the Beastmaster and his whole thing is having a pet and controlling it. But then like more than half the classes in the Tiny Tina's is a pet like class. They all have like a little pet that their thing revolves around, and it's really like they wanted to be original when it came to their classes, but I'm like, guys, stop. Just do warrior, archer, mage, warlock, rogue, shit like that. Stop trying to be. You don't have to be that original. Like you can have fun within that confines, but they like tried hard to make it separate, and at the end they all start feeling samey anyways. And I agree with you. Like I like the fact that this is the quote unquote Borderlands. It's technically a spinoff, but where you could like create your character, but with that it comes like really generic writing because your character is supposed to just have a whatever personality instead of playing as like a character, so their writing suffers horribly for it. And like the thing is, like Borderlands used to make me laugh. I still love the first one the best. The second one's pretty decent. Third one, writing wise, is awful. But again, yeah, I agree with you, Edwin. The fact that I love the gameplay, but I remember playing Tina's Wonderlands, and I played it with my friends. Like we were excited for the game to come out. We played it day one, and we kept trying over and over again to go back to it because every time we're playing it, we're just sitting in silence for hours because they're firing off jokes. They're just not funny. Like nothing's funny in the game. Like I'm just like, this is supposed to be Borderlands. You're supposed to be like crazy, wacky, zany. I think the only joke they ever said that actually made me laugh my ass off was when you get like, I don't know if you've gotten to the point yet where you have to cross the ocean. Have you gotten to that at all?
No, but it was like they gave me the option. It was like, hey, if you cross this ocean without getting a blessing for your ship, you're going to die. But it still gave me the option to sail without the blessing. I was like, if I get on that ship without the blessing, I'm definitely going to die halfway.
I mean, the joke is that it's that you die, but then Tina resets everything. It's like, all right, that didn't happen. But I think it's that point, so you're probably like right at the cusp of it, where Torque or whatever his name is, the guy who yells all the time. Mm-hmm. He like fires a nuclear. He's like, I fire magic missile, and it's just like a nuclear bomb that fucking like a nuclear missile that shoots into the ocean, just destroys the ocean. And someone screams, "That's not how magic missile works!" And that's the only one that really made me laugh. But we've tried so many times to go back to it to try and beat the game, but we're just like sitting there, and it's so painfully unfunny. And like some of the side quests I'd be doing, like. And we're doing it, I'm like, all right, what's the punchline at the end? Like, where's the twist going to happen where it's going to make this funny? And like half the time we just go through the quest and there's no joke. It was just a quest. I'm like, oh, that's not funny. That's stupid. I'm expecting more from you, Borderlands. And just, I don't know. It is the same problem when I go back to try and play Borderlands 3 when I try to get the same friends to go back and play that. And I was just like, yeah, the gameplay's fun, but we're all sitting and just kind of cringing at every other line of dialogue because it's just not funny. It's just cringe. It's all cringe. And I'm just like, what happened to the writing staff at Gearbox? If it's the same people, I'd be shocked. But I was superbly disappointed in Tiny Tina's. It's a good thing you got it on sale because I bought it at full price and I immensely regret that.
Yeah, it's like the only thing I've ever heard is just like, hey, this game is not super great. only ever get it on sale. I was like, well, I guess that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, you made the right decision. I think it's far below mid. I have no desire to play it again. At least Borderlands 3, I could at least go back and play as a mech and have fun with it. But anyways, I wanted to put my 2 cents because I had a lot to say about fucking Tiny Tina's shitlands.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I just got past what is technically still the tutorial. I think I just got past that because now it's like the real story. So like half my shit is still like locked. So it's just like this is gonna take a while. But the pet thing, I don't know, familiar. It was like I don't have one, but it was like I
What
have
class
grenade.
did you pick?
I picked this, I don't know, spell weaver, but I do
Yeah,
have
that's one of the few
grenades.
ones that doesn't have pets.
Well, I mean, I have grenades that give me a pet to fight in battle, but I don't know
Yeah,
if that's what you meant.
everyone can take those spells though. My point being is that like the range, they're like Sporomancer or whatever has a mushroom pet. Their Wyvern Knight has a Wyvern pet. Their Necromancer thing has a skeleton pet. Like most of them have pets unless you're playing as either the spellcaster, the spell gunlock, whatever the fuck it's called that you're playing. Because that's what I played as first before I switched to the Berserker. And I'm just that's another one that doesn't have a pet, but they're like the only two. Most of the classes have pets, and it just makes them all homogenized. Everything's just the fucking same.
Well, I mean, I picked the spell weaver because it's just like it was like I like magic, but I was like I'm not really sure what to expect of this game, so I don't. So if like anyone can use magic, then it was like I guess I could have picked anyone.
I mean, your gimmick is the fact that you have 2 spells. Everyone else only has 1, basically. But everyone else can use magic. It doesn't matter what class you pick because they replace grenades. But the spell weaver, you can use 2, basically.
Well, I did have some fun with that character creation. Like the lore writing for the classes were pretty funny, but the character customization was pretty bland, or maybe like 8 options for like every single thing.
You do get a lot of like customization options as like loot drops in the world, so you're gonna get more to customize. Like I said, the customization was great, but it suffers because your character's not funny. You're not a character. You know, I kind of wish your character didn't talk at all, and people just talked around you, and they just made fun of like the silent protagonist bit or something.
Yeah, there was literally a point. It was like it was obviously tailored for modern audiences, but there was the Unicorn Knight Mike.
Yeah.
I literally could not tell if the thing over their lip was a mustache or if it was just a comic line because of the art style. So it's just like I can't tell if you're a dude or a girl because I can't see. You literally have not shown yourself without the helmet.
I guess it's like I don't even care about that. It's just like the character's not funny, even though the character's firing off jokes. Like they're saying things that's supposed to be funny, but it's just not funny at all. Like I said, they'll get me occasionally with some meta line. It's usually when they're at the table and like they're making meta commentary about TRPGs. Like that's usually when they're being funny because I can tell the people who wrote it do actually play tabletop games, but everything else that they're trying to like make within the story is like really boring. Just not funny. That's half the reason I played Borderlands to begin with. Is like, oh, I want to play this game. It's about shooting dudes, fucking blood everywhere, and everyone's just laughing and making one-liners left and right.
Yeah. Well, it's like I've been laughing for some of the stuff. It's just specifically my character. I have not been laughing at any other jokes. Everyone else is funnier.
Yeah.
Like some of the jokes they make about the game is also funny. But besides Tiny Tina's Wonderland, I played a bit of Pokemon. I was trying to grind some money, but it takes very long to do so without doing like raids and selling ability patches. So I decided to just go and clean out my Pokemon home and just get rid of everything that I didn't need and keep all my perfects. And then besides that, not really. Oh well, yeah. I also played Elden Ring. I completely forgot about that.
Trying to block out your mind like PTSD.
Yeah, I played Elden Ring. It's definitely harder. I mean, I literally went to sleep last night while talking to you guys, and you heard me rage about the most simplistic enemy and a stupid ass great katana. It was just bullshit that I got really mad. But it's like so far that's been the angriest that I've gotten, and I've beaten like a couple of bosses. I can't even tell how many bosses I beat because some of them I wouldn't really count as bosses. But besides that, like the DLC is definitely hard, but I don't know. I'm managing. I'm also helping my friend beat some stuff, but I can't tell where he actually left off. But freaking Dung Eater is definitely doing some work out of the Mimic and the Black Knife Assassin summon. So far, Dung Eater has been doing the most amount of work, and for some reason, the thing that damages him the most are just a regular Black Knights. A dragon, the Bonfire Giant, they don't do shit to him. It's really weird power scaling between all of them. But besides Elden Ring and Wonderland and Pokemon, I haven't really done much else. Udon?
Well, I had already previously been the monthly game, so that made my schedule a bit more free. Just had to catch up with my gacha stuff, catch up with my event, and get all the rewards for that this weekend. And past that, I had actually put more time into that Advanced Wars reboot camp, trying to unlock all the COs and stuff like that. Still trying to find time to actually start Witcher, but I haven't had enough time to sit down and like start a long form game again. Went back and I also played Elden Ring Friday, just out of painful curiosity, and painful it was. When you can defeat Moog in 60 seconds and then get bitch slapped fucking by the first boss for hours on end, and the fact, I'll have time. I don't want to make it all about Elden Ring, but holy fuck, that DLC is not nice to spellcasters. I'm probably gonna rework my entire character because I'm pulling my hair out trying to get through it as it is right now. It's not bad. It's when I shit talk Elden Ring and stuff like that, most of it's subjective, and this is definitely subjective. I guess it's just people like the hard shit, even though my character is probably about peak sorcerer, but it doesn't matter because all the bosses are so fucking fast and all the fucking arenas are so damn small. I can't do anything, so I'm gonna have to switch to a melee build so I can actually kill them. They have so much health that I run out of mana far before they're even close to death.
Sorcery and incantations builds have always kind of been shit on, even in the base game, because
in the base game I was a god. I was a god in the base game.
Well, all the NPCs always have that perfect dodge for any of your bullet type attacks. So that's why I always
bullshit.
Yeah, that's why I always have to have I gotta have Stars of Ruin, otherwise I'm fucked and against an NPC because my magic doesn't mean shit to them.
Yeah. That's the other thing, yeah. They just input read you, and it's I'm just going to dodge every fucking time, fuck you. It's whatever. It's not bad DLC. I like the environments, the enemy design, all that's still really good. I'm still thinking it's a little pricey at $40. I wish it was $30, but whatever. It's high quality at the very least. It is okay. I don't hate it. I just hate myself. That's all it comes back to at the end of the day. I got a lot done on Metroid Prime because, as we'll get into a little bit, we're going to talk about a little bit about the Nintendo Direct, and Metroid Prime 4 was part of that, and I was I need to go back and actually play the first Metroid Prime and probably work my way through those for whenever next year, hopefully, because I'm liking it a little bit. I'm still not sold on whether or not I'm a huge fan of the Prime series, but I definitely don't hate it. I don't think it's bad. I just, of course, there's quality of life stuff missing from the first one. Wish it was better lit. I hate walking and aiming with the same control stick, and just how the button layouts are. It's kind of annoying, but other than that, I'm trying to think, but I think that's about it. Oh, then after I went crying after playing Elden Ring for nearly 24 hours going into Friday into Saturday, I was I needed my happy place, so I went to go play Halo Wars and Shantae again because I needed to recover. I was done. I was beyond frustrated.
You need grunts.
But I don't know. I don't know why Halo Wars. I just felt like it. I want to play some Halo Wars too. And I was just after that, I just want to play Shantae and be in my happy place for a little while. But Jordan, what did you do?
I got myself kind of just burnt out by the monthly game. I'll just go ahead and jump on the next thing. But yeah, I'm still debating if I continue or not. I got the kids all up on the Fortnite deal. That's something fun for me. Again, as a parent, kids are finally wanting to play video games. They don't want to. Now they do. They don't want to leave my room. I'm all right, guys, you guys gotta go do something else. Go play out in the sun, please. Please don't be that. Don't be those people. Yeah, don't be those people. Just go out there and have fun. So now they've been playing it, but they I don't know. It's kind of weird to me that they're playing the Fortnite, but they're just not playing it in the ways of going to kill and shoot things. They want to do those mini games where it's just like, which is the correct, company's logo or whatever, and they're just like running through and they're playing all these. Yeah, they're like, they have two separate ones. Like, they have two pictures of Sony. Which was the correct icon? Is it this one that's got a little weird font, or is it this one that's got the original font or whatever? And then they go to, and the next one is KFC. Does it look like the KFC should be on the left hand side or the top of the picture? Which one is it? And you're going through, and if you go to the wrong one, you die. But they're having a blast with it, and I'm just like, I don't know what the hell is going on.
That's a fucking internet, Facebook, voice thing that randomly shows up.
I don't know. And then they were playing the next one, which was how much subscribers can you get, and they're running around and they're trying to get some more subscribers or something. I'm just like, I thought I was going to see them start murdering people, but they didn't want to, and so I was just like, okay, I guess I'll
Why don't you want to kill?
Yeah, why don't you murder? But they don't. They're doing other things. But still, they're playing the games, and I'm having a blast watching it. And then, like I was telling everybody before the podcast, I was going to try to get myself to play more of these games instead of just like picking one, jumping off. I'm trying to completely finish them, because that's why I kind of think it's a good thing about these monthly games that we're trying to do. So I think that'll probably be a little bit more better for me to at least have more detailed discussion on at least what we're doing within the week. So, well, now that we talked about what we did over the weekend, now I think it's time for our listeners to receive some gaming news. Corey, take it away.
All right, so this week was pretty cool because Nintendo Direct came out. I mean, it's the tail end of all of the other big game announcements that kind of happened since E3 isn't a thing anymore. Xbox, they had a really popular one. They just had a lot of games. Sony probably did worse than the three of them. But Nintendo came out and was, very surprising because they announced Metroid Prime 4. They did hit it with the 2025 release date, and I'm speculating that it will be a Switch 2 console-like title, because the game itself looked really well put together for a Switch game, and I know that Nintendo knows how to utilize their product more than anybody else, but it wouldn't surprise me if they made it a Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch, but it's like the better experience is going to be on the next console, because I'm from what I've seen, a couple companies have listed next-gen Nintendo console for Kickstarters and stuff, so it has to be next year holiday season. It's been a long time since Prime has showed up. I know that we got that stupid Federation Force game or something on DS that made a lot of people mad, and then the Metroid Dread, which that one was really fun. It's kind of hit or miss with a few people, but I did enjoy that one a lot. They finally announced a Zelda game where you play as Zelda that looks to be fun, because if you don't know about the, the Laserdisc or something? What was the old one?
CDI.
The CDI. That game is just terrible.
That's an understatement.
Like I said, that's the funny thing. It's like, oh my god, you can play as Zelda, and it's just like, y'all know this has happened before, right?
No one wants to talk about it.
Yeah, that's the whole. Yeah, they're like, the ad campaign is, this is the first one. I swear, don't even look for the other one, because that game is really shitty. But it looks really fun. I mean, it's done in the Link's Awakening remake style. I really like that style. I thought it was, it's charming. They look like little toys. Her playstyle seems interesting because it's like a sandbox game, and she does environmental magic. Huh?
It's fucking Minecraft.
Oh, a little bit, I suppose. I mean, you're not breaking things. I maybe you are. I don't understand the copy mechanic thing, but it comes out in September, so that's pretty cool. So that's really soon. And they just released the Peach game, so we're getting a lot of spin-offs this year. They announced Mario and Luigi Brothership, which the Mario and Luigi franchise was like a turn-based RPG on Game Boy Advance, and those games are pretty fun. I like the art style of this one a lot. They're kind of it's like a weird anime-ish kind of thing, but it's not the typical Mario style. they're a little bit more stylized. Which now that word sounds like I've said it too many times. But like I like I like how the mechanics work for those games because it just makes the combat interesting. A new Mario Party, which I kind of hate the name, but the Mario Party itself looks really cool. It's called Super Mario Party Jamboree.
I mean, you notice they like use the same font and logo as the last Mario Party, but it's just stuck Jamboree at the bottom of it like a sticker.
Yeah.
Like it looks exactly like the other one's like title does.
Well, I mean, that's like the line of it. It's like Super Mario Party, and then Super Mario Party Superstars, and then Super Mario Jamboree, Super Mario Party Jamboree. It's like it's all the same font. It's just like different endings or additions.
I mean, I'm a bit reserved on it, just because like the Mario Party games are, they can be hit or miss. But this one looked pretty fun. The way that they like approach the game boards, like the play style seems unique. And then as far as Mario parties go, because we've complained about the everybody in one cart thing, so this one seems kind of fun, and it has online with like 20 people, and I'm just like, how is that going to play fast? Because a 10-round game with just 4 people can take like 30 to an hour. Donkey Kong Country Returns, which I think is a port of a DS.
It's just an HD remaster from the. No, it's not a DS game. I believe that one's a Wii U game actually.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because I mean, like, I like Donkey Kong Country. I think they're a really fun platformer. I mean, aggravating levels aside, I always liked playing Donkey Kong Country. I like listening to like the soundtrack and stuff when I'm working. It's just a fun game for me. And then we got some Dragon Quest information. So the first 3 Dragon Quest games are getting the Octopath remake style, and I do like that remake approach. It's really kind of neat. And it makes me want more of them like that. I just played Star Ocean 2, and it's done like that. And that one was pretty sweet. There's like a bunch of other weird like throwaways, like the Looney Tunes game they announced, which I don't know who asked for this. It's
Nobody.
Just an instant. Yeah, it's a whatever is making it. We needed a tax write off because like I don't understand the audience for that at all. We got some ports from games that have been out on PC. Luigi's Mansion 2 was showcased. Yeah, and then they announced their weird like Nintendo 64 mature games, but it comes as its own application instead of putting it in the Nintendo 64 like game library. So I don't know why they're doing it that way, but yeah, but that's pretty much the standouts for me. I mean, there's a few other things too, but I mean, basically the first party Nintendo games are looking pretty good, and they're relatively soonish for like end of the year holiday release schedules. So we'll probably end up talking about those later as I pick them up and play through them.
I mean, I was interested in that Farming Ga or whatever the fuck it was called game. It's like a farming game, but you like.
Oh,
at first, Farmagia, because at first I thought the whole point was that like you tame creatures to help out with your farm, but no, like you grow the creatures from plants, like a bunch of wolf creatures grow from like a corn-looking plant, and they just turn into the creature. I was like, what the fuck? And then not only that, it was like it had like the fairy tale anime art style. I guess they're involved with that too, which is a nice aesthetic. I like the art style, and I'm interested in it because it's like a Pikmin-esque kind of battle system. It's like real time, and you just control like a horde of creatures to attack something. But the problem is that it's on the Switch, and even from the trailer, I'm like, I can already see the frame rate dropping in the trailer. Like it's, I hope this comes out on PlayStation because it's not going to run well on the Switch.
The weird part for that game for me was they also announced Fairy Tail 2, so I was just like, I thought we saw this already because the art style is the same.
Yeah,
it does look cool. I wonder because it's like a sandbox game, so I wonder if you can make your own character and whatnot. But yeah, it wasn't as many farming games as they announced last year because that was like I think 5 of the games that they had on their lineup last year were all farming games. But this one was a lot of RPGs. There's a lot of turn-based RPGs that were being announced. I mean, the Mario and Luigi Fantasian, which I think is like a port of like a mobile game or something, Fairy Tale 2, and a couple others. Some weird Denpa Men game where they look like the what is it, that Street Pass thing?
Oh,
No, it's like the Street
The
Pass guys
totally
from
not Tag and Rampa.
yeah. And then Romancing Saga 2. The art style is cool, but I won't let that fool me. Any game that had Saga in the title, I've just had
You
not
can't
been
fool
a
me.
fan of it.
Yeah,
Square
I mean,
Enix has this whole franchise of like Romancing Saga, Saga Frontier, Unlimited Saga. Like all of them, I've tried. I can't do it. They're just the
can't do
combat
it, man.
systems are just too complicated, or they're just there's too many things going on, and it's not like stat tracking. It's something about like the UI and the way the moves are there, and I don't know. I've just never liked any of the Saga games, and they were kind of there for people that didn't want to play Final Fantasy.
Well, the thing about Romancing Saga is just like everything that they showed was like nothing here speaks romance. It's like, why the hell is that a name? But the concept of it, what they showed, is like it seems interesting, but I might as well, if I was gonna buy anything of the similar kind, I might as well just go with Dragon Quest because like I know that game, and then those games are cool. So I never played them, so I was like, I might as well get this instead of Romancing Saga.
Like the art style again is really cool. Like if I walked by, they could have called it anything else, and I probably would have picked it up and then realized I hated it. But because of the title, I'm like, I'm gonna stay away from that. Like it looks cool, but no thanks.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I played the first Fairy Tale game for like the PS5, but it's just like I can't trust them after playing that first one. I was like, yeah, I finished it, but it's like the combat was so bland and so boring. It's just like I'm playing checkers. It's like this is not difficult like chess, but it's like hey, here's nine blocks. Pick a move that hits the most amount of enemies and kill them in like 1 to 3 hits. It's like that shit was so boring.
I mean, be glad you played it on the PlayStation. I played it on the Switch, and guess what? It runs like ass.
I mean, a lot of people were mad at the game because I got a day 1 patch to censor all the panties. So, but it's like they changed the combat style for Fairy Tale 2, but it's like I was like, after the first one, I don't trust you to do this one right either. So I'm just gonna pass on that until like maybe it's like on mass sale because that's how much I do not trust you. It was like the fucking Fairy Tale games was like one of the coolest arcs for me, and then it's like, yeah, that was the combat. It's like now it's like the final, like the Fairy Tale 2 is like the final saga of the anime. It's just, and then I was like, I don't know a lot about it. It's like, so I don't care like how the fights are going to be like because I don't have any knowledge of it. The one I did have knowledge of it was the one that you fucked up. So therefore, I don't trust you for the second one.
I think it's part of the reason why I didn't like it, because when I booted it up, it's like everything happened, and now we're in a time skip of really far future. I was like, what? I was like, when did that happen? I haven't gotten to that part in the anime yet. What the fuck?
Yeah, it's like that. I think no, I finished I finished like up to the last season, so like I kind of knew what was happening, but I was not expecting that to be the starting point. But I guess it kind of makes sense because it's like, hey, you're starting this new game, and then also in the anime, they're all in this weakened state. Train them up.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like my specific 2 cents on that one game that was shown on there.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into the polls then. So our polls was, does backtracking have value? Yes or no? And the winner was yes. What do y'all think of that?
I mean, kind of.
Just very, yeah. No, I mean, backtracking has
context.
a lot of value because, like, it's an easy gamepad, but that's also how things can go terribly wrong because if people are just relying too heavily on the backtracking to make the games longer, then you're doing it wrong. It's more fun when it's rewarding, of course. So yeah, I definitely agree that it's an easy to use tool to make your game expansive, but it also is easy to like screw it up.
It's like
Yeah.
sometimes it has value because it's like you can go back and then you have new abilities or something, and then you can explore like the hidden areas that you didn't know or couldn't access before, or like some specific little thing in the corner that you might have missed that just ends up being more important than what you initially thought it was.
Yeah, I mean it's more common. Like it's definitely like the main pillar of Metroidvanias, because those games are designed around backtracking. Like every map is looping. You'll see something that you can't reach because you don't have double jump or a dash or some means to break something. So, like the Metroidvanias utilize it in the best way, I think. Some people, they like I've played an RPG called Grandia Extreme, and the way that they wanted to expand their game is they gave you 4 dungeons, and then you beat them all, and then you have to do all 4 of them again because the bosses woke back up and now they're cursed. And it's just like, okay, so there's no different layout. The enemies aren't really different. They're just stronger. And you've already done it, so it doesn't feel fun to do. And that's like a really bad way of approaching like backtracking.
Next,
I think
go. I accidentally talked over you before. You can go.
no, you're good. I mean, I wanted to point out what like spawned this conversation when we were talking about like what we were going to do for the next episode. Is me and my friend were playing a game, and he knew a lot about the game, and I knew. I mean, for context, it is the game of the month. I'm still not going to name it, but it's just what brought this conversation about. But I had a friend who was well versed in the game. I had never touched it before, and he was helping me by like telling me what like if I got to a door that needed a key, instead of letting me go all the way to the door to find the key or to find that the door needed a key, just to walk all the way back to find the key and then walk back to the door finally, he would be like, hey, there's going to be a key in this room. Let's go in there. I'm going to let you solve the puzzle and then just put that away for later so we can use that to open this door we're going to see later. Like, he saved me the back and forth from that one thing. But then, multiply that for, that's part of the main gameplay loop. And I think I came out of that experience, like, in a lot more, like, seeing the game in a lot more positive light when not a lot of my time was being wasted with needless backtracking. And, like, when I say needless, I mean, like I just said, if you're playing a game, you get to a point, you realize you need something that you don't have and don't have a clue where it is. So now you're going to have to backtrack throughout whatever dungeon, fucking, level, whatever have you in to, just run around with your head cut off, fucking wondering where the fuck this thing is. That's like bad backtracking. And like, that's what brought about my questions. Like, did I bork my own experience playing the game by having that assistance? Because some people would say that, oh no, that's part of the experience, is that frustration dealing with that. I'm like, yeah, but is it? I probably wouldn't have liked the game nearly as much if I had to do it like that. Because how the example that I would put is that in reverse, that friend has never played Ocarina of Time, and if I was sitting next to him while he was playing it and he got to the water temple or some shit, I'd be like, all right, we're gonna go get the small keys. I know where the small keys are. Or hell, if I was in the forest temple with him, I'm like, all right, stop, look to your right, go up there first right quick, grab that small key. So we're not gonna fucking come back for that later. It's like, is that part of the experience? Is it bad that I'm denying him, or that he denied me that like confusion? Is that backtracking have value? Because like, backtracking to me that's good is probably a prime example that I like to reference actually is Shantae, at least Half Genie Hero, because that's my favorite one. Is that in levels you'll see places that you just can't get to, and then later on in the game you'll unlock some kind of transformation that'll allow you to access those areas. And once you get that power, you're like, oh yeah, I go back to that other level now and explore it more now that I have a new power to do. It's recalling that it's almost in the reverse order, right? It's like, instead of getting to the door of whatever it is and finding out you need a key and going back to get the key. You find that door, but instead of going back, you're just going to keep progressing through the game until you find the key later and then go back and open the door. I guess that's the difference I'm trying to make, actually, that I feel like that's the good version of backtracking, whereas not getting the door and then having to go back and get the key. It's getting to the door, going forward, finding the key, and then going back to open the door. That's the more fun version of it, at least. Again, as you already mentioned, Metroidvania, as I mentioned when we were saying what we're doing for the week, I'm playing Metroid Prime right now, and it is way more satisfying to be like, well, I can't go this way. I guess I'll go whatever way I can go until, oh, look, I have a new power. It's like, oh, now I can go, roll in a ball in a half pipe until I can go up to the wall or whatever, or just open up the beam door. Yeah. But that's way more satisfying,
Yeah, and their levels too usually have like a cool loop around mechanic, because it's like the level design is what really helps with that. Because some people will just have you have to, and you'll find this in older games, like you reach the end of the dungeon, now you have to walk all the way back out of the dungeon instead of it like somehow looping back to the beginning where you're like, oh, okay, cool. Like now I don't have to do this over, and that would be game padding. It's just like, oh, the game takes forever. It's like, yeah, because I got to walk everywhere.
Yeah.
And then the getting lost thing. I mean, games like Silent Hill has this, where you kind of you have a map of the city and you kind of know where you're going. Like there's some context clues, but there are parts where you could just like wander around trying to figure out like what the hell you're supposed to be doing. And like praise GameFAQs because they like all of the old guides people wrote like many years ago with like ASCII art and stuff. But it's when you were aimlessly wandering and you've been up and down this street for like 2 hours, you're like, what did I miss? Like that's the shitty part.
Yeah.
And because you're like, you're wasting time, but some people are like, oh, that game took me like 20 hours to beat. It's like, yeah, but if you knew where you were going, or if it was a little bit easier to understand where I'm supposed to be going, then the game's actually like 8 hours long.
Yeah. But again, it's like the point I'm trying to make is that like some people, I don't know if any of us would say it, but it's just like, oh, that that's a different game experience. You're ruining the game for yourself. I mean, maybe ruin's too strong of a word for that, but it's just like it's the mentality of like, I had to suffer, so you should have to suffer too, sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I think about it like watching gameplay, like because in this video in particular, there's probably going to be gameplay of playing Shadow of Destiny, and I was playing through it. I've played it before. It's literally a game about backtracking because you're traveling back and forth in time, and you're in a small town where you constantly have to go meet the same people and choose different options and stuff, and it's really well put together. My brain just did a freaking backflip. Gameplay. That's right. So, like, when you're watching gameplay, if somebody's just wandering around, not achieving anything, then you as a viewer are like, skip. Because they're like, I don't see any value in that. As the player is also feeling the same thing, going, where the hell am I supposed to go? Because there'd be times where, like, if I'm getting gameplay footage, I'm like, oh, I don't want to record this because this is just me in a menu screen, like reading stuff, and or something like that. And so I'll just throw a video away because it's like not usable footage and it's not beneficial. And I don't want to watch somebody like walk up and down a hallway because they're like, what was that thing again? Especially because older games don't have like quest indicators and their journal entries aren't necessarily like great because you could read like notes and stuff you found, but it would never be like, that's right, I've already done this thing. I that's something modern games do that I love, is like the previously on Dragon Ball Z thing when you start up a game. I think Dragon Quest actually does this. Pokemon Fire Red did that, where it's like last time you were playing, and it gives you like a couple screens of just to kind of like, get you back on track. But there's none of that in like old PS1 games or Super Nintendo games for the most part. So like if you didn't read something or you accidentally skipped a dialogue in like a classic Final Fantasy where they're telling you to go somewhere and you missed the context clue, then you're like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do. And then you end up wandering around. And Jordan was doing this the other day playing Wild Arms.
I mean that's exactly what happens if you skip cutscenes in Kingdom Hearts 1, because there's like nothing that tells you what you're supposed to do. And like it's even kind of vague sometimes, even if you do watch the cutscenes. But that's changed in like Kingdom Hearts 2 and later. Because it's like it's more direct of what you're supposed to do. Is like literally go that way. But in Kingdom Hearts 1, it's a lot of the map loops around in circle, so it's kind of hard like where you're supposed to go because there's like a doorway you could miss. So it's like that's the way you're supposed to go, but you won't see it because it's not totally visible. Meanwhile, in like later on games, it's like it's still longer, but the map doesn't loop as much. It's just a long, like narrow hallway or just a straightforward map with just a bunch of stuff in the way. So it's like there's an end to end, but in 1, it's just like everything loops, or it's just somewhere out in a completely different area that you either can't unlock or you're just not supposed to be there yet.
And that's the thing for me too. Is just like I always be saying like those games back in the day were so fun, and now I hate them. And it's just I guess it was just that being a kid you just had so much fucking free time. Now you don't, and you just want shit to be over with and done, and it just doesn't happen. So you're just like, what was I fucking thinking? But it's like now I think about it now, it's like, yeah, you were always happy because you didn't have really much shit to worry about, and you had all this time just to be able to solve something. Now it's just like trying to come up with much time as I possibly can to make something work, and the backtracking thing just drives me fucking up the wall. And I don't know, every time I try to play these games now, I kind of figure that the reason why I'm like so into like fighting games or something is just because it's so simple. And then you jump back into these RPGs and such where there's no hubs or anything that's really giving you any direction. You're just like, where the fuck am I supposed to go? It just it's hard for me to just get myself back into wanting to do these things, because it's just the amount of going back and trying to figure something out. Some of these games, even if you were just like, I would probably thought of it this way if it worked, but then there's some of them that are just, I would never have thought to do that. Why the fuck would I do this? And you have to go through a walkthrough.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for the game of the month, I was like, I literally would not have probably finished that game if I did not use a walkthrough. I was like, I debated on not using a walkthrough, and then like the first 5 minutes, I immediately have no idea what to do. So it's like, I'm just going to use a walkthrough. I don't.
Where's
care.
the guide?
Yeah,
I didn't. For the most part, I didn't use a guide. Not until I was trying to see like how much more I had. But it's a guide would be the same thing as your friend sitting on the couch going like, hey, you should just so you don't get lost like I did and waste 4 hours, because that isn't fun for anybody. I guess like RPGs is weird because like classic Final Fantasy and stuff is like you get in the random battles. It's a game about adventuring. So like if you're wandering around, you're fighting enemies, you're getting stronger because you're leveling a character up. So it's kind of built in to like meander about to find your way. But it can also, if the economy of the game is broken, screw up everything because you're like, I don't make a lot of money fighting monsters and items are super expensive, and all I'm doing is trying to figure out where the hell this stupid cave is, and I can't go there because now I'm out of items because I've had to heal my characters so much because it's so early in the game that you don't have revive or a healer yet that knows that spell.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's funny because like you were playing Wild Arms, and I think you were walking around a town and you talked to every single person in that town and none of them were giving you helpful information.
Not a fucking thing. Just like, oh yeah, there's gonna be a great festival coming out soon and I can't wait. I was like, me neither. How the fuck do I get this goddamn festival to start? I need to get this shit done. Go to the king. Go to the king. Yo, one that rules this land. Where the fuck what do we do? There's a festival coming out. You should be getting ready for that when it happens. I'm like, I don't fucking know. And then it's like, Corey's like, yeah, you should take a nap and sleep at the inn. Pay 50 gold pieces, and I wake up and nothing happens. I'm like, all right, I don't fucking know. the only thing that's saving me from driving myself insane is the music. I guess is the only thing I can say is like it's good music. But if that shit like starts to become too repetitive, then I don't know if I'll be able to continue until I literally pull a walkthrough out, because that's what my whole thing was. Is I'm trying my best to not have to use a walkthrough, and I am not coming up with any ideas for this one. And I'm like, all right, I think I'm just gonna fucking grab it and just save myself some time, because I don't know if I can figure anything out. I have literally traversed the entirety of this map that I'm able to go through. I went into this mines, I went to the freaking towns, I went to the castle, I went through all the shit, and no one's doing me anything. And I've leveled myself up to the point where literally everybody tries to hit me and they do 0 damage because I'm just too damn powerful. Because I've literally spent like 3 hours so far just going around town trying to figure shit out, and no one can help me. I was like, this is bullshit.
Yeah, when you first said backtracking, I immediately remembered that it's just like that's like a Cult of the Lamb. When you finish the whole game, it just makes you do everything you just did all over again. I haven't continued it, but I can only assume, because the world technically did change, that the bosses might be different. But like the other game that I was thinking of when you said backtracking was fucking that one mission, that star mission in Paper Mario: 1,000-Year Door. I've yet to play the new one. I've only played the original. But there's one fucking star mission. It's for the Red Star in Twilight Town, and that shit was so lame. It's one of my gripes that I hope they like did something about it in the new one. But literally, that whole mission is just you going from Twilight Town to the castle. There's just monsters and like 3 scenes of environment in between them. You just go to the castle, fight the boss, and then something happens. I'm not going to say what it is. But then you have to go back to Twilight Town, and then like halfway through, you realize what the boss did to you. Then you have to run away from him because you can't fight him. Then you go to Twilight Town, and then you literally can't do shit. I was like, you have to fucking listen to crows in the shadows to figure out what to do. And then that leads you back to the castle. There's no fast travel. You have to go through those 3 scenes of environments and monsters every single time, including the boss that you can't defeat, that you always have to run away from. So it's like you have to do that like maybe you have to go back and forth total maybe like 5 times, because you have to keep going back and forth to figure out what the next part of the puzzle is, because the crows don't tell you everything. And then, so it's just like running away 5 times, going through the same fucking scenery every single time, dodging all the enemies or fighting them if you want to. But it's just like, that's the most game padding thing that I've ever seen. And then eventually you get to finish the whole mission and get the star and just get the fuck out of there. It's like, I hated it so much. I was like, how could people praise this game if it has this kind of shit?
Mm-hmm.
That's just made me so mad. But it's like, I don't know if like people like the tournament one, but it's just like it's just constant fighting. There's like a little bit of investigation, but it's, I don't know, it's mid to me.
Mm-hmm. Because I generally actually don't really care for games that have backtracking in them. It's just because I'm a guy that kind of likes it when I get to an area, as long as I take my time with it, I can 100% the area and move on. I just have that. I don't know. It's like I want to get everything here. I need to do everything here before I move on, so I get all the items, get all the fucking achievements, whatever. And then when it comes to it, because I think the best example of when this kind of ticked me off was in Banjo and Kazooie, the first one. In each world, you can with everything you have in that world. Typically, you have to get a new power within the world, but it's still in that world. You can get all the jiggies, all the notes, all the secrets, everything in each level as you get to it without having to backtrack. I think with like very few exceptions, there might be something you have to trigger in another world that'll activate a jiggy in a previous world, but I don't remember if I'm just co-inflating that with Banjo-Tooie, which is my real point, because Banjo-Tooie, they really did that in each world. There's like a significant amount of things that are like locked out to you unless you leave that world, go to another world to either get a new power or like trigger something in the world that affects another one. And it just, I don't know, it perturbs me. I'm annoyed because I just want to do that and get on so I don't have to come back here later. I'm already here. Let me 100% everything in this room. And even though what I just described is essentially what I also defined as good backtracking, as in finding the locked door and then moving forward to find the key and coming back. But I don't know. I guess I'm more valuing that kind of backtracking in games now that there's a lot of games I'm playing now that has that kind of backtracking. I don't know. It's hard to think about because I'm still torn on it. I don't understand whether or not I still like backtracking as a concept. But then I just think about it's like, well, Shantae had it, and I love that game, and I felt good when I got a new power and went back to a world and I could explore it more and get the rest of the items that I didn't get the last time or whatever. And, I don't know. And a lot of games have backtracking in some limited capacity. Like I guess it's like more or less artificial backtracking again because you're that backtracking that you have to do to like, fuck, I don't have the item, time to go interact with everything in the world until I figure out what the fuck I'm supposed to do, sort of thing. That's the stuff that pisses you off because you don't know where you're going, essentially.
Yeah, you're just lost. It's not designed into the game. It's just meandering because you don't know what the hell's supposed to happen, and you're hoping that you accidentally walk into like an event trigger, and you're like, oh, fucking thank God.
Yeah. And you're like, man, I've been looking for this for ages, but fucking, I don't know. Like, because I guess an example is Legend of Zelda, because Legend of Zelda, I feel like that was the whole fucking dungeons, was just find the locked door, go back and find the key, asshole. You missed it somewhere. I'm like, great, I love it. Yeah, I'm just running around, my head cut off, trying to fucking find where the damn key is.
Yeah, it was like literally, I make that thing happen for myself because like every time, no matter how many times I play it in Zelda and Legend of Zelda Wind Waker and the Wind Temple, somehow every time I always make it to the boss doors. Like I did everything in this dungeon. Every time I get to the boss door, I forget I had to get the boss key without fail. But I didn't consider when you said Banjo Kazooie. I was like, I didn't consider collectathon games to be backtracking. But then I thought I was like, because I never played Banjo Kazooie, so I don't really know what that game was. But I can't imagine it's any different from Donkey Kong 64, which I love. But it's like that backtracking is a little different because it's like, well, yes, it's a collectathon. There's like a shit in like every single corner. The difference is that you have to go through the exact same levels with 5 different monkeys because they all do something different. So it's like you have to play through the same level 5 times, granted in slightly different ways. But it's like it's still like, I don't know, like 800 items total that you have to collect because it's like 100. Well, actually, no, it's like way more because there's like 100 items for each monkey to get in the entire game. So it's like that's a lot of stuff. Because like the colored bananas, colored medallions, colored blueprint pieces, banana fairies, golden bananas. It's like Jesus Christ. It's like until I saw a video about like the logic, or I guess like a breakdown of that game. I was like, I did not realize how much time you have to put in that game. So it's like when I actually watched, I'm like, Jesus Christ! I actually almost beat this game.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like the one thing standing in my way was not the collectathon. It was the fucking the original Donkey Kong game or Jumpman game. It's like that I could not beat because you got to beat the arcade version twice in order to get the medallion. One of the 2 medallions to beat the final boss in the Donkey Kong game. 2 completely unrelated things to this game in by itself that you have to do in order to beat the whole thing. It's like this is a weird concept. I don't know why they decided to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just really funny. I think that's probably one of the first times I ever rage quit and actually threw the controller. Granted, it wasn't a modern controller. It was a fucking N64 controller that I threw on the ground. So like obviously that shit did not break so easily.
Yeah, I think tangent, but I think the only time I ever really broke a controller by throwing it was playing Mario vs. Capcom 2 and getting really pissed off.
I was like, well, when you save, if you throw it at the console, you lose your save data. Then you got to backtrack to the point that you were at.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, one of the like, like obviously the Metroidvania games is like it's like the older ones I always had issues because it's like they don't tell you like the objective. They tell you the objective immediately, but if you sidetrack yourself, like you kind of forget where to go. That's kind of what happened when I started playing Metroid. I had that issue, but then I realized that when they tell you to go somewhere immediately, they're like you can immediately go to that place and progress. Like that's the direct next objective of the entire game. It was like you're gonna get something you need here, then you go here. They're like it's the game's like internal walkthrough that telling you directly where to go. It's like forget everything else. It was like everything else at where you're at now you cannot get because you don't have this one thing I'm trying to lead you to.
Yeah.
But it's like it's like how most of the Metroid games are. So like I'm just gonna do what this game tells me. I'm not gonna go looking around every corner just to find things that I can't do.
You find that like the shitty backtracking in a lot of older games because they're just designed around like you're going to get killed and there isn't checkpoints and stuff, so a lot of it is just you doing stuff you've done already. So like that is another problem with some of the older games. You don't find that as much in the newer ones where you're like, you know, the joke of like, oh, here we go, the final boss is going to say his stupid lines and then I got to fight him again because I got killed for the 900th time. But you don't like even Elden Ring now has like it's not new to Elden Ring because of the DLC. They've always had it, but they introduced the checkpoint system where you can spawn at the boss door so you don't have to run through the dungeon anymore. You know, and that's really helpful. You know, I could say that that's also very easy compared to how they used to do it. But like in the original Dark Souls, you had to actually walk everywhere until you got the ability to fast travel between bonfires. So that one, when you go back and play it after playing like Dark Souls 3, it's very you're just, oh my god, I have to walk all the way there. That's so fucking far.
Yeah.
Until you get about halfway through it and you're like, okay, now I got it. But you know, you gain the ability to do that by beating the two notorious bosses, Ornstein and Smough. And then you're like, okay, my reward is a lot easier, like traveling, which is kind of nice. But when you play games like Siphon Filter, which is a very random throw out.
I have no idea what that is.
But you know, Siphon Filter, or Metal Gear Solid, or any of these, probably more so Metal Gear Solid because Siphon Filter is mission based, so it's like playing a level over again. But like games that are a little more open, I suppose, like Metal Gear Solid, where you're like, I got killed because of insert stupid reason here, but I didn't call to save it, and I just lost 3 hours of gameplay. So now I have to do all of those things again, and all of those things could be like I have to go to that building, find that guard, take his key to go here to open that door so I could put that code in. And even if I know the code, I didn't find it yet in the game, so the game isn't letting me just put the code in because I don't know it in game character.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh man, that's something that really just let me guess. Just let me freaking throw keys at it, please. I understand that like some of the experience from like the developer, they'd be like, well, you got to really kind of get, you don't get the true experience if you just know all the answers. But it's like, what if I'm just playing this again, you know, and I don't want to do this part?
Right.
You know, but then you have games like Mega Man X, and it's not a Metroidvania, and you can beat it very quickly, but they have hidden things in the levels that require you to like beat a boss or have a certain item or something like that. And it's really fun to play that game over and over and over again. I think every time I turn Mega Man X on, it's just as fun as the last time I've played it. And I've probably played that game hundreds of times. I was playing it in between loading screens on Skyrim on PS3. If I entered the cave, I'd be like, all right, well, I'm going to go fight the freaking penguin boss while I wait for this to load. So
I found out on the Wild Arms deal. I'm a little pissed off right now. So you're supposed to change your fucking character, and it doesn't tell you that. So when my main guy that I'm running with, after I got exiled out of this town in Wild Arms, they just kick you out, and then you have a choice of picking the 3 people before you leave. And I was like, I like this guy. I'm just going to keep using him. You're supposed to pick the girl next, and I didn't fucking know that. So I just keep playing as the guy, but you can switch him out. So there it is. There's the bullshit there. Nobody told me anything, and I've been running around town asking people, and nobody fucking cares. So I'm supposed to be playing as the chick next. So there you go.
Because she's not exiled.
I don't fuck no. It's just me.
It's 3 separate characters in that game, and you play them all independently to get to the same location, and then they all meet each other for the first time, and then they're like, oh, your quest is very similar to mine. Maybe we should, link up or something.
Oh, I thought it was like a disguise kind of thing. It was just like, oh, this character is exiled from this town, but the rest of your characters aren't. So you're supposed to enter the town with a non-exiled character to continue the quest or something in that town.
It's funny because the main character gets exiled from the town for saving everybody. And I mean, that's kind of like sugarcoating it a little bit, but they're just, quick, go to the berry cave and help us. And then he's like, I helped you. And like, yeah, but that was scary.
He's got a gun. You used a gun? Yeah. Get out. What? I just saved you. I just killed a demon.
I'm helping. Yeah, we don't like that. Okay.
Kill a hero.
Yeah. How dare you be selfless?
You're here, but you killed a man. It's like, yeah, I killed a serial killer. What the fuck do you want from me?
Yeah. He was the monster you told me to kill. What was I supposed to just tell him to stop it?
It's where they pick. It's where they pick all their beautiful flowers at. As a fucking nesting demon, just waiting to take your soul. I got your kid out of there, by the way, but I had to use a gun. A gun?
Yeah.
Go to hell! I'm like, what?
Again, another tangent, but fucking that's kind of what I was getting annoyed. I love My Hero Academia, but Deku gets on my fucking nerves sometimes. As I think if anyone remembers in like the season before the current one, he gets concerned because fucking All For One is like taking over fucking what is his name? The main bad guy with the hands on his face and has like the deconstruction quirk. So he's like, I have to save him. Like, he just leveled a city with people in it. Like, I'm sorry, my man. Like, you gotta rethink your strategy here. And I think even in, like, he's talking to, like, Gran Torino in the hospital, and Gran Torino's like, sometimes the only way to save somebody is to kill them. I'm just like, thank you. Preach. And it's like that guy just killed a lot of people way before fucking All For One had anything to do with it. And it's just like, well, no, All For One, fucking, controlled him or whatever. Is like he manipulated him. Like, no, he seemed like a horrible person from the get-go. Like, him controlling it didn't have a whole lot to do with anything.
I mean, he's evil. It's like literally because he has daddy issues. But that whole tangent just reminded me. I was like, so he's literally going through the exact same thing Avatar Aang was. It's like everyone is just like, kill the guy. I was like, I don't want to. I was like, he literally is trying to murder the entire world.
Well, like, at least in Avatar, he still ended up doing something, like, really cool. Like, I'm actually okay with Aang. Like I said, I don't want Deku to kill. I don't want him to kill. I just think, because it's not in his character to kill. Deku wouldn't kill anybody. I'm not saying Deku just needs to suddenly start a serial killer. Neither do I think Aang would kill anyone. But at least Aang still took away his bending, which is still just a big middle finger to the guy. So that was still something cool, It's like in this context, unless they do the same thing and Midoriya somehow figures out a way to take away their quirks and just leave them like that, which they have established there's a way to do that, so possibly. But it'd be kind of feel like a cop-out. Just in this situation, I'm just like, Deku, come on, man. I just kill a lot of people. You can rough them up a little bit.
Kick
throw
them in
them
the
in jail or something. But no, the first thing you're thinking of is to save him. Fuck off.
But soil your hands with someone else's blood besides your own.
Right.
But I was like, I forgot the other game I was gonna talk about. But I was like, the more recent one is one of my favorites. Is for Resident Evil 4. It's like it did something where if for the completionist it requires backtracking, but that the original did not really have. So the backtracking in the Resident Evil 4 remake is just if you're a completionist, you don't have to do this extra difficult stuff. But they do have mini bosses since they introduced them to or from Resident Evil Village. It's like there's random mini bosses that show up, and then you have to go back to a previous area and then go and find them to kill them. Usually it's tied to a useful item, a very valuable treasure, or just a quest for the merchant. Usually it's a quest for the merchant that starts it off, and then he'll give you the reward for it. But it's like you wouldn't really know unless he told you. He tells you about it. But it's like it requires you to go back to a previous area, and then it'll either be in that area or they just wanted you to lead you to that area, and because you're occupying the spot that it's supposed to spawn. So to your fairness, so like you leave the area so you can like get ready for the fight in this bigger area that we needed to get you out of. So it's just like something interesting that they added that required backtracking that wasn't in the original, which I thought was really cool. It's like I don't mind doing the extra fights, but goddamn, in the professional mode, those fights are a bitch.
Well, I mean, like, if there's is like unspoken backtracking where it's like, what if you went back and did a thing, but that's not like vital. It's either like an Easter egg or just like a bonus item or whatever. That's like one thing. Because I think like, trying to remember. I think weirdly enough, the example that comes to mind first is like in Pokemon Gold and Silver and the remakes. There's this mechanic. They never reuse it, but there's this mechanic where you can ask your mom to save money for you. So like every battle, she'll keep some of the money, but like it's secretly like tracking your like money counter. So your mother will randomly buy items, but you have to like go all the way back to your first town to like actually get them. Like that's still
playing Bitcoin.
Yeah, well, it's funny because in the game she described it as like, yeah, I was out shopping and I found something you might like, so I bought it with your money. It's like, you fucking bitch, that was my money until you spend it. But that's like a way to get items in the game, but you have to go all the way back to your starter town to actually get them. You can't get them any other way, but it's just for items. It's not like required or anything like that.
I think a lot of that like having to go back to previous areas and stuff, like gripes have been solved through like the fast travel option that people started to put in like every game. Because if there wasn't like, in older games you didn't have fast travel, and then you would literally be like, oh man, I gotta walk all the way, because it'll be like a guy asking you for something in the first town, and you're like, oh, he wants me to go find 20 of these things, and there's no fast travel, and I forgot that he's in the first town, and I'm halfway through the game now, so I have to go all the way back and give him this stupid quest item. And then if you forgot about the quest, it's not even worth it, because it's like he's only going to give me 10 experience and some stupid item I can't even use anymore because it's just weak.
Well, the one that I think that did the backtracking, like, I guess, like the best for what I've currently been playing, I mean, was that Fire Red, because I mean, you're only really backtracking when you have to go fight Giovanni to get the 8th badge, but it's just like everything you're usually going in a single direction until you have to go back to fight him and then do the Elite Four. So I mean, that would be like the only one that I was saying that, yeah, you had to backtrack, but it was very painless. Like it didn't really bother you too much, and you had fly, so you could fly your ass back, not walk your ass all the way back and try to find yourself through all these doors and shit, or anything like that sort, where it's too painful and too time consuming. But it's just a way to extend the life of the game, and those type of things just bother the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with Fire Red, like specifically, I think like it's how I would describe symbolic backtracking almost, because the actual effort of the it's actually a good thing you brought that up, because it's as you said, it's not difficult to just do the backtracking and just use fly and get back to Viridian City, but at the beginning of the game when you walk into that town, that's the last gym leader, and just to your left is the Elite Four. Like that's the end of the game, and then you go through the whole game in a big ass circle, and then come back, and then you're like, oh, look at where I am now from where I started, sort of thing. Symbolic backtracking. The end of the game is basically the beginning of the game at the same time, which is that's all. It's just a nice theming, nice just complete. I like. It's hard to say story because Pokemon doesn't really have story, but I mean it's a loop.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like MMOs when you go back to like your starting town and everything that used to kick your ass. You're just like you can't. They don't even aggro you anymore because the level's so low. But you could just one shot everything, and you just occasionally will kill like level 1 monsters just because you're like, yes, you are weak.
But don't worry, Jordan. Like that Pokemon situation, it gets worse later on because just like more areas that you pass by, it's like, oh, you can't reach this area because you don't have strength, or you can't reach this area because you don't have surf, or you literally can't come back here to get like a specific Pokemon that will be available post game or just straight up later. Until then, you was like their favorite Pokemon locked behind progression, but you have to backtrack anyway to get to it.
Well, I mean, it's aside from the Pokemon thing, but that's still the good kind of backtracking because even in Fire Red and Leaf Green, there's an example of the good kind of backtracking when it comes to the HM moves. Because when you're about to go into Rock Tunnel, you see that there's like this river up and around the area around that Pokemon Center and the cave that keeps going down off screen. And you're like, man, I wonder what's down over there. And you can't do anything about that until you have Surf. And when you go back and get Surf, you go down there and you find out that's where the power plant's at, and that's where Zapdos is. So it's still just like hitting the locked door, realizing you can't do shit, and but you can keep going past the locked door through a different door that's actually unlocked, and then when you go get that key, you come back and unlock that door. Like I say, that to me, that's the fun kind of backtracking because I'm feeling rewarded. It's like, oh no, I got a new power, and I can go back and get the thing instead of just needless backtracking. Like I said, I guess it's more purposeful backtracking because it's like I think what Corey just said. The backtracking being reduced because of fast travel in modern games. I mean, I was just playing Metroid Prime like before the podcast, and while I was doing pretty good for a while, I thought I had to go to an area I didn't have to, and like I had to go all the way there and realize it's not where I needed to be, and had to go all the way back, going through all the hallways, having to kill all the enemies, because every time you exit a fucking hallway and go back, all the enemies respawn, so you have to deal with them all again, and then you have to like all the way back across the fucking map to figure out where you're supposed to be. I'm just like, man, if I just didn't fucking think I had to go over there, I would save myself fucking 20 minutes backtracking all the way back here just to get to where I'm just supposed to be, so that entire trip was just pointless. There's another 30 minutes added to the game timer, essentially. It's just that needless backtracking that's born out of ignorance or bad game design, essentially.
I mean, I forgot, in Metroid Prime 1, I can't remember if you have like a detailed map or it's just a bunch of hexagons.
It's detailed enough, is how I would describe it. Because I can, it's a 3D map. You can like rotate and stuff. But
Okay,
I think
so it is a 3D map.
I think what the problem was is that it gave me. I got the wave cannon or whatever, the new gun, the purple floopy floop gun, and I could open up different doors. And at the first the game wasn't telling me where to go because eventually in Prime it does tell you, it's like, hey, there's a thing over here, maybe you should check it out. But I was like, oh, I have the floopy floop gun. I know that there was purple doors back in the first area, so I went all the way back to the first area, and I got there, and I realized I still can't get to those doors because I'm still missing what I'm assuming is the plasma whip from Smash Brothers to like get across a lava pit. And I was like, son of a bitch, and so I had to like go all. And by the time I got there, that's when the game was like, oh no, go back to this. Or no, I rather took another look at the map, went to the area I was currently in. I'm like, oh no, there's a purple door there that I have to go to. So I had to go all the way back there through other two areas again, fighting all the enemies, getting through all the shit just that I had to do getting there in the first place. I had to go all the way back, and I was like, that's rather aggravating, you know. It's rather annoying.
Or like one of the cooler backtracking ideas that I like is just when the world like actually changes, because eventually in Dragon Quest XI you get to what is like a false ending that actually turns out to be like the midway point of the game. The game's like 120 hours long. It's like the world changes like when you get to that false ending. So when you backtrack, it's not the same. The layout is the same, but like there's like different characters, like different situations. They're new monsters or similar looking monsters, just stronger, and it's just cooler in that sense. But then there's also the non-intentional backtracking, where it's just like you have to go back because you didn't reach a save point or something. Which most of those is like saved by autosave. Kind of like what Corey said about the Elden Ring statues, where you don't have to go all the way back to the checkpoint. It just gives you one right in front of the door. It's kind of like a time saver. But the non intentional thing that I had like it's the backtracking is with Skyrim, because the autosave, it's there. It's just incredibly specific. So it only works in like time intervals. I always have it like 5 minutes. So like, and every time 5 minutes pass, whether you sleep, wait, or just open your menu, it saves if 5 minutes already passed. But it's very annoying if you're too quick and then you die in battle and it hasn't been 5 minutes. That's when you have to backtrack and do it all over again because you did not quick save before, like getting to a place you were not before. So this is really annoying. It was like, can you just save every walkway or like every time I have a loading screen? Because it doesn't really do that sometimes. It's just incredibly annoying. It's like, I gotta do all this shit because you refuse to save unless I open my menu. I was like,
Right.
I'm supposed to be prepared at all times. But I was like, no, you only save when I open my goddamn menu when I don't need to. That's like one of the issues I had with Skyrim. That was like mods can't save this.
Mods can't save this. I mean, they might be able to save it.
I mean, I couldn't find it.
It's just remove all backtracking, save faster, save more often. Fuck, I just had an idea in my mind. Oh, I think it's almost a combination of intentional and unintentional backtracking, but what's something that aggravates me is that, like, especially if like you're on a fetch quest or something in games, it's like, go over here, talk to the guy, and get the thing. It's like, all right, now what do I do? It's like, go back the way you came. It's like, oh. Yeah, but there's like no fast travel system or anything, so you have to like go back and do everything you just did to get there. It's just like, but I've already been through all this. And then sometimes you'll get there, it's like, okay, you have to go back to the place you were just at and again and to go do something else. I don't know why I think that when I think Skyrim, but like I guess maybe there's something in there that sparked my memory that requests like that. You have to go get a thing and just go back the way you came and go do another thing. But that is, like Corey said, fast travel, so I don't think about it that often. But
that was literally the very start of Pokemon Fire Red. It's like, get the parcel from the Pokemon and go back to Professor Oak.
Walk all the way back.
Yeah, that's weird. I'll admit that is very strange. I don't understand like what the point of that was. It was just like, why couldn't you just given the player the Pokedex like at the outset? Like, why do you have to have them go through this silly little side quest in order to actually do it?
Well, because you're questioning the man that forgot his own grandson's name.
True.
The thing with all of that too is like it's supposed to be used to teach the player something,
right?
But that's why if it's there just to give you something to do, then it's like, I don't want to do this. It's the same thing with fetch quests. I hate doing fetch quests. I don't really 100% games because there's just a lot of things that I just don't do because I don't think it's fun. You know, like the Nirnroot thing is the notorious one. It's like, go find all these Nirnroots. It's like, you do it.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to do that.
I'm the Dragonborn. What do I want to go look for this stupid shit for? Like, are you going to give me a cool sword? No. Right then.
Bane of Nidorroot.
Well, it's just like I'll pick it when I come across it, but it's more just so like they can stop making that annoying fucking noise.
Yeah.
It's like there's also like there's like very few of these that I actually know of, but there are like some quests where like they force you to backtrack regardless if the game has fast travel or not, because they're like, oh, you can't fast travel while doing this quest because the item is way too fragile or too important for you to like fast travel or take some kind of like specifically faster travel way. So like you have to do like just walk or run through like this long like path to the location that it actually wants you to go to. Because like I think like the only one that comes to mind. I can't really talk about the other one because it is part of the monthly game. So I'll take this other one. It's not super long, but it's the same concept. But in Kingdom Come Deliverance, in the tutorial area in Skalitz, your dad gives you a quest to get several things. But one of them is he wants you to specifically get a cold jug of mead or wine or whatever the hell.
Mead is wine.
Well, I mean, it's like I think mead is like honey wine or some shit. But
it's a form of wine.
Yeah, but he wants you like specifically get a cold jar of mead. But if you take too long, then he gets pissed and then tells you to go get another one. But it's like there's like quests like that. I was like, oh, it's like time trial, even though there's like no timer or anything. You just have to assume that you're okay. But it's like also it was like in some games like it goes even further. You have to go across the region, and then you can't go on horseback because like it's like fragile glass or something. And then it's like you can't take horseback. You gotta walk or run. It's like that's just like so annoying. I was like, I have this ability, but you won't let me use it. It's like you're literally just padding the game in this quest. So it's like, but it's like it's like I got to do this quest because it's important,
right?
Castlevania has a quest like that in Castlevania 64. There's like this part where you have to carry nitroglycerin for some reason to blow up a wall, but they're like, oh, if an enemy hits you, you're going to die. Also, you can't jump. And it's just like, it's supposed to be fun because it's like, the game about doing all of those things, you got to try to do this without doing those things, but it's not fun. And you, like, one little stupid controller error, because it's like, crap, I got stuck on a collider or something, or I accidentally jumped. Then I have to do this stupid thing over again. And it's one of those situations where it's like, when was the last time I saved? And it's not
That's
optional.
not a question you want to ask.
Yeah, it's not an optional thing either. You have to do this. And it's like, why are you putting this here?
If you have to ask yourself when you saved last, it's already too late.
Yeah. I've done that with plenty of games. Like I do like the autosave feature. I know that people are I hate that I don't ever have to go to a save point.
No.
It's
Fuck
like
that.
no, I at least like that there's an autosaver continue your game, but then save points now are mostly just like a heal point where it's like, oh, here's a freaking full heal because you finally made it here. It's like, oh, thank God. But because then you can kind of run around those and basically power level your characters or something. You find those mostly in RPGs and whatnot, but if it's like a specific, do you want to save your game? And then only having one option to save, that also sucked because I don't know if I'm saving over somebody else's game or if somebody came over and played a game and saved over my save. And it's just kind of, oh my God, now I have to start over again. And that's not backtracking by like game design. That's just literally a freaking chore that you have to do if you want to try and play it again. Because there's plenty of games that I've played back in the day that I won't play them again. Specifically because it's like, well, I beat that one. I don't need to do that again.
Remember those?
Power outage.
Yeah, I remember those. Like,
power outage.
Actually, somebody saves over your shit. Whoops. The fuck you mean, whoops?
It's time the ultimate amount.
I lost 40 hours of my life. You can't give this shit back. Fuck this.
My friend deleted. I was using their memory card, and they had. It was Metal Gear Solid. I didn't own the game, and they did. And I went over there to play it, and was like, "Hey, where's my save?" Like, "Oh, I had to free up space on the memory card." It's like, "Are you what?"
Excuse me?
I had just got to the second disc.
Excuse me, what did you say? It sounded like, please skin me alive right now.
Like, you gotta be kidding me. I gotta do this shit over? I mean, the thing that's nice about Metal Gear Solid that it's fun, but it's still like, you lock it in and you're not wandering anymore because you've already solved all the things, but you literally still have to go do the things. So you're like, walk over here, fight that guy, walk over there, fight that guy. Same thing happened a lot with my friend Ben in Final Fantasy IX, where for some reason everybody kept saving over his game on accident.
Accident my ass.
We got to the end of the game, and then he what is it? He was helping another friend of ours, David, I think, with his save, and like Ben was doing the part for him, and so instinctually he was like, "Oh, I gotta save," and so he clicked on his save to save the game, but he was playing David's save, and so he's like, "Accept." Oh wait, and he had that realization and was like, "Oh my god, I just deleted I think it was 40 hours of some shit." And that's the second time he did that, because the other time, I think I was clearing space on my memory card, and then I was just like, "Hey, Ben, is this the save I can delete?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then I deleted it, and then it was just it wasn't the right one. And so you had to start the game over again. And it's, good thing that Final Fantasy IX is a really good Final Fantasy, because having to play a JRPG on PS1 and run it back another 40 or 50 hours, it's like, are you... No.
It's the ultimate form of backtracking. The entire game.
This game doesn't have an ending, as far as I'm concerned.
Just been in this purgatory for the last 80 hours.
Yeah. It's like, oh my god. I mean, just write a guide already if you're going to do that much.
I was like, how much do you love this game to play it over again? Prove it.
Yeah. I mean, I did that with, what is it, Zone of the Enders. I think it was my first PS2 game, and I didn't have a memory card yet, so I had to leave the system on for 5 days.
Jesus.
And I was just trying to beat the game because, I was a kid. I didn't have a car or job or anything, so I can't just go get a memory card. And I think memory cards at the time were $60 or $70, and I was just waiting for, raking, probably shoveling snow for money and stuff like that. And it's finally I can get a memory card. But it's the game didn't format when you started, because it's hey, I'm checking for a memory card and you don't have one. Are you sure you want to still play? And it's yeah, okay, I'll just get a memory card put in later. And then you do it and it's just oh, there's no memory card for me to format, or I do that at the beginning. So you have to go back to the title screen just to save it. And it's oh, or if you die, it's you're kind of SOL anyways. But that's the pain of physical memory cards in that entire era of gaming, or playing a Pokemon game and not realizing your battery died. So when you boot it up later, it's, are you a boy or a girl? And you're oh my god,
no!
I don't remember. It was so long ago.
It was so long ago when I played this. I can't believe my fucking save's gone.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I guess here's a question. So it's as I'll bring it back to the original quandary I had when we were first thinking of this subject. Is there a game that you could think of that has backtracking, that if you had a friend sit down to play it, you would just let them flounder? You would think it would take away from the experience of the game if you help them even through the quote unquote unnecessary backtracking?
I could say, oddly enough, the game that's running on this video, the Shadows of Destiny, it's kind of a fun thing to let somebody play it, because the game has 5 different endings, and based on what actions you take during, because you're on a timer always, and I usually hate that. That's why Majora's Mask is very hard for me to get into, because I get on this panic attack of time's ticking away. But the way that game works is your character is going to get killed at this time, and the whole, I guess basically the entire plot is your character's murdered. You wake up in an afterlife, and a thing's hey, you got killed. Do you want to stop that from happening? And you're yeah, okay. And then you travel in time to change events in the past so that doesn't happen, but then you end up getting killed again. But the way that you can interact with people to try and fix that, it could be different than like someone else's playthrough. So watching somebody do it just to see how they handle this situation, you're like, oh, they're gonna get the bad ending because they didn't fucking they didn't bring that girl a kitten, and that they didn't talk to the right person to tell them to go to the town square and stuff like that. So like events will unfold differently. And like this recent playthrough, I got the best ending, or well, of the original 5 endings. And then there's EX mode, which I don't think I'm going to go for, but because it's too soon. But I got the A ending. But when I played the game a long time ago, I got the E ending, which is bad because the character, he just does something really stupid and then ends up like, ending on a bad note in general. So when you get the A ending, the story is actually really cool because you get to see like all of this other stuff. And I was sitting here like, oh man, like I like the game more now because I played it a second time and did things differently. But like if I was sitting here with Angie, and I would just kind of be like, let's see what she does.
Now, when you say that, do you feel like it's coming from a place of like, oh, I think that'll take away from what I think is like the full experience of this game? Or are you being just like, hey, well, watch them fuck up?
I mean, I guess a little of both because like I know what's coming, but like because of the different options too, it's like I kind of want to see how it's going to unfold because I know that if I were to be like, hey, go over there and like get that thing, get that item and talk to him, and then this will happen. I kind of be like, I want to see what's going to happen differently too. So it makes the game entertaining for someone who's played it a bunch to like watch it anyways because they're handling it that way. Instead of me just like, yeah, I know, I've seen this.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we touched on
choose your own adventure essentially that's the type of game it is. So like that's the fun part is like letting somebody choose their own adventure, because if I was going to tell you how to do things, then I should just be playing it.
Yeah.
I guess that's why that works so well for that game.
I guess and weirdly enough, it's like I guess I think a weird good example of it would actually be Dark Souls in a way, because Dark Souls and I'm really specifically thinking about the first one because that's the one I have the most experience with. If I told someone to sit down and play that, I think as far as I'd go is I'd tell them like what stats to like maybe put more into or like where to get a half decent sword, but it's like if once they come across their first gate of cannot open from this side, I'm not going to be like, all right, so go to the right, go down, go to the left. I'd just be like, just wander around, because you're not really going to go anywhere that's not useful, that wouldn't lead you to something. And half the fun of Dark Souls is turning the corner and just be like, oh, fucking shit, what the fuck is that sort of thing. It's like, just start, you're turning the corner and there's a Black Knight standing at the end of a long hallway being like, sup, bitch. And you don't want to ruin that kind of you don't want to ruin that kind of surprise for your friend. And like I said, when my friend was telling me to go get the keys, he was just leading me to the room where you would find those things. But to like do the puzzle, he let me do the puzzle. He wasn't telling me how to do it unless I got like really stuck. But I guess at that point, it's almost the same. Like there's not a whole lot difference between getting stuck and just looking on the internet rather than having your friend tell you, what to do or what not to do. But it's harder with a guide because you're just following it step by step, and you might not find the specific information you need. Yeah, I don't know. I backtracking has its really good points and its really bad points. Like I said, it's just one way you do it. Like I said, one way is intentional. That's the way it's done well. The other way is just like you get somewhere and it's bad when it's like I have to backtrack, but I don't know where I'm backtracking to. I'm just going to wander around to figure out where the fuck I need to be, which is half the problem. Is like every backtracking in Legend of Zelda, which is why I was getting aggravated at, was basically just that. I kept hitting, the key door, and it's like, great, now I have to go back and figure out where the key is. So.
And you find it a lot more in like open world sandbox games, just because you get the piece of candy and now you're like, oh, where am I going?
Yeah.
But and then like the gripes that I was mentioning earlier are basically just hardware issues, because that's just how you had to play games back then. And then choose your own adventure is probably the best way to like sit down and let somebody else make choices without you like kind of barking. Games like Detroit Become Human, Indigo Prophecy, a lot of those like in those that horror franchise. I can't remember what they are. There's a bunch of them. I know that Dead by Daylight, I think, is no, Until Dawn. That's what it's called. Like, were you just watching somebody make choices, and instead of me going like, "Oh, the killer's in that room, so don't open that door and talk to that guy and tell him to go in there so you don't get killed." And I just want to see what they're going to do because that's what makes those fun to me, as like a group activity, I suppose.
Yeah, but those are like, I guess I get it because it's like it's impossible to backtrack in those games because no matter what you choose, the game's going to move forward, right? Like
Not every time. I mean, there are things where it's like quick time events is usually the death of those games in general. Is like, you have your dialogue options and you're walking around, and then it's like, oh, I have to find a hiding spot in the next 1 second, or I'm going to get caught. But when it's a quick time event out of nowhere, and you're just kind of listening, and you kind of forget you're playing a game, and you set the controller down, and it's like square, and then you don't do it, and then it's like, oh crap, I'm dead. Now you have to start this stupid chapter over again, or like this part of the story again, and you're like, ugh, and I can't skip anything out of fear I might accidentally screw up the quick time event again, because I am kind of happy that those are a little bit far and few between nowadays, because when they started showing up in like everything, people were just like, what is it, Shadows of Mordor, that game, the final boss fight is a quick time event, and I think it's only 3 buttons. And I was so excited to get there because I liked that game and was like, oh my god, here it is. This is going to be a freaking sick ass fight. And then it's like credits. Really? Okay.
But like those story driven games, it's just like it like depends on which one you're like gonna play. Like because Cyberpunk is kind of story driven with like choices, but if you like die and make the bad choice, there's like then it just auto saves you back to like the last save that you had. So like it's a little bit of backtracking. But then there's like some story games where like it's basically just story and like hardly any combat. Like I think it was like Dead by Dawn. It was like the kids in like Snowy Mountain.
Until Dawn, yeah.
Oh, Until Dawn.
that's what Torres is talking about.
Oh, I mean that one is just like that one is like it's like no, if you fuck up and like anything, the choice or like the action command is like nope, no autosave. There's no backtracking or anything. That game is going to commit to your incompetence or your bad choices. That's just like, well, if you want to make the right choice, you got to play the whole game again up to that point.
Yeah.
So I guess for example, you are playing Until Dawn, and you know that there's a real pain in the ass quick time event. You're watching your friend play it, and there's a pain in the ass quick time event that's coming around the corner. And you know if they don't hit that quick time event, they're going to be sent back. Like, let's just throw out a number, an hour of gameplay, right? You have to redo all of that. You would not tell them that. You think that that's part of the experience is having to click that quick time event on time, even though you know it's bullshit. Would you not warn them of it? You'd let it go because you feel like that's more of the game experience that's supposed to be intended. You feel like it would give them a better quote unquote a better, more real experience what the game had to do rather than warning them.
Well,
I probably would tell them to keep a heads up. It's like, hey, you're going to have to press a button here. In some of the newer games, like the button won't be the same. So I can't be like, get ready to press square. It'll just be a randomly generated like QuickTime event. And that would be, I would tell them like, hey, don't set the controller down or else you're going to be pissed.
For me, it really depends on what kind of game it is. But I'm the kind of person who likes to get a reaction out of people. So that's why I usually say like the dumbest shit. But it's like I would not tell them because yes, it'll make them do an hour of stuff again. But one, I get a reaction out of them. They experience the game, and then it was like it doesn't matter if I say anything or not. It's like you lose an hour progress, but if you do, you'll do it all again, but this time faster, and this time you will be ready, and I don't have to say anything. Plus, if I'm watching them, it gives me a break to like go to the bathroom or something if I'm watching it for a long time. So but if it depends on what kind of game. Like if it's Until Dawn, there's like I won't tell them. But if it's like that, no, I'll go back to Kingdom Hearts, like where it doesn't give you like an objective. If you're like going way too far or something, or if it's just like, in my opinion, a stupid objective that's like it's really simple, but the game just doesn't want to tell you, I would just tell them because it's like because it doesn't really help if I don't tell them. So it's like I want you to progress the game because I want you to like know the story and like do the combat and all that. And because if it's like a boss fight and it's like a particularly difficult one, I was like, you're probably gonna die and do it all over again. So I might as well just tell you now.
Actually, you bring up a perfect example we can use. So let's say you and me are at we're sitting on the couch and I'm playing the first Kingdom Hearts. By the time I got to the Tarzan area, would you be like, okay, so since this area is complete bullshit, now that you're done talking to Jane and Tarzan, you're gonna go down, take a right, take a left. Are you gonna start directing me where to go because you know I'm gonna start immediately just wandering around going, what the fuck am I supposed to do?
That was the example I was thinking in my head because fuck the Tarzan world. That shit is so annoying because that whole world is just backtracking back and forth between the jungle, and it's just incredibly annoying. So yes, I would actually tell you where to go because it's really annoying because they're like you got to go all the way to the top of the treetops into like that the house that Tarzan parents built. Then you got to go all the way back down to the campsite. Then you got to go to like almost every single area of the jungle. Then you got to go to this direction to fight Sabor, and they got to go back to the camp. It's just a lot of back and forth. That whole world is just backtracking. At least in Alice in Wonderland, it's a loop anyway.
Well, I mean,
part I always get lost.
Yeah, I mean, it's because like I was able to navigate Alice in Wonderland, not really having too much of an issue. But like that's the point. It's like you think that instead of letting a friend or somebody, it doesn't even have to be a friend, you think it would be a better experience for you to tell them where to go, or at the very least give them hints in Tarzan world, because you think that at the end of the day, once they're done with the game, they're going to think better of Kingdom Hearts because they didn't have to deal with the same bullshit you put up with when it came to that world.
It's not really like getting through it. It's just the fact that like there's no benefit if I don't tell them. It's just a lot of wandering around and is a waste of time. There's not really I don't really ruin the experience because if the story won't progress if I don't tell them. So it's just like a lot of pointless and wasted time. So it's just like I feel like they would be more annoyed if I didn't tell them, and then they just wasted so much time and they get bored and then just don't want to go back to it. So it's like it's just more helpful if I do tell them because it's like, hey, we got more done in the past hour because I told you what to do instead of just wasting that first hour just not telling you what to do and just going on in circles.
Yeah.
But it's like there's like a lot more to explore, so it's like it's pointless to waste it on this one section just because the game just doesn't want to tell you important information.
Yeah, so I mean that's what I'm getting at is like that kind of backtracking is just unvaluable backtracking. The game does make you backtrack. That's just like the nature of that game because it's like, at least from what I remember, when you came to Tarzan World, it was literally just like, all right, let's go, Sora, and it's just like, where the fuck do I go? I don't know where I'm going. But the game is just like, explore the world. I'm like, I don't know where to explore in this blocky forest. I don't get I don't understand what you want from me.
That's why you gotta, and particularly the first Kingdom Hearts, you have to watch the cutscenes because like there's like little hints. Like I know there's one cutscene where it's like everything is like settled down, everything is calm, and then you hear a gunshot, and then everyone looks outside. I was like, okay, you clearly got to go outside, but like the question is where. So, but it's like the only place where like a scene could happen. Is like they're like, all right, so you heard a gunshot because someone is up in Tarzan's house ready to shoot a gorilla. Because like it's like because it's like a named location. It's not like it's like no one's gonna shoot a gorilla. I was like because you're standing on a tree branch and they're like on another tree. That just kind of looks weird in that game. If you try and do it that way, it's like all right, it's obviously gonna be in like in a popular location where like 3 cutscenes already happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm trying to think of something. It was trying to think of an example, anyways. Fucking. I just had like this. I just had the explanation in my head of like how to say it. Say a different way to say it. I guess. Shit.
Well, I do have a question. Since you asked us that if we would help someone, because our friend is currently having issues. I was like, our friend Selena is having issues with Persona 5. I was like, and you've clearly liked that game. I was like, would you help her in like the specific areas? Because apparently the only help that she's been getting is just a bunch of people insulting her. But
Was
since
she
doesn't
consulting
know where to go,
Reddit or something?
no, and no, it's like the game is like she's trying to talk to people because she doesn't know where to go or what to do. But the only reply she gets from like the NPCs is just a bunch of people insulting her character.
Jeez, I don't know what fucking part she's at, but it would again. I think my answer would be closer. I mean, again, close to yours as to like what the context is, because like there are, if I remember correctly, because it's been a little while since I played Persona, but not a whole long time since I've beaten Royal, where the game is like, all right, figure out how to do, like, you have to do something in the real world to affect the cognitive world. So the game kind of lets you figure it out by talking to people. Usually your teammates give you hints, and saying that out loud just reminds me of what I was just forgetting a second ago, but I'll go back to that. I get like you, I guess I would say it depends, basically. Because if it's like combat, like her, like she's getting her ass kicked in combat or something, I would say I'd give her tips, but not exactly tell her what to do, because Persona is pretty malleable when it comes to that. But I would say there's probably a few I think Persona is probably one of the most straightforward, or especially even a JRPG, that you can't really get lost in. I wouldn't say, anyways. I would need more context to like understand what part she's stuck on, but I would say if it is something, I guess I can go back to what I was thinking of. It's like if the game is technically giving you a hint, but that hint is so like benign, like you're being like, how was I supposed to know that sort of thing? It's like, yeah, it's like if I saw like you just said, like maybe there's like a cutscene in Kingdom Hearts where it's like, this is telling you where it's supposed to go, but you're sitting next to me and you're like, I watched that cutscene and I don't react, and you're like, okay, so I know that cutscene like didn't make a whole lot of sense, but this is what it was trying to tell you. We have to go this way. And it's like, oh, we gotta do that. Oh, I get it now. That's why I was showing the thing. I think at the end of the day, that would make the experience playing the game better. It's hard to say, because like here's something that was really annoying that I could with Persona, actually not 5 but 4. So I don't know if they've actually done this in any other Persona. It doesn't seem like they have, but in Persona 4, you have to do really specific things to get the quote unquote true ending, the good ending. One of them being like, basically the plot of the game is you have to solve a murder mystery. Essentially, you have to. It's the whodunit. There's some serial killer on a loose in a small town, and you have to figure out who's killing everybody. And near the penultimate point of the game, you're like 99% sure you have the guy, but you have to select really, really specific dialogue options. Otherwise, the game's going to end and you're going to get the bad ending. And I'm saying, like, you have to select the right dialogue options. Like, I think it was like 6, 7, or 8 times in a row out of like a list of 4. And it's all like really specific and things that make sense to say, but you have to select the right one every time to like continue the mystery. Basically, you're being like, no, this isn't the guy. Something's not adding up, sort of thing. That would continue the game like almost a whole, like the last like 15% of the game is locked behind this option. But if you fail it, there's no going back. And the soonest you can save prior to that is like 30 minutes of dialogue. It's not like gameplay you have to get through, but just sitting through more dialogue. And you can skip chunks of it, but it still takes forever. And you are given really no hints on which dialogue options are the right one. Like when I sat there and did it, I think I was sitting there for probably about 2 hours before I finally figured out the right like combination of dialogue. Because I selected the bad ending, and the last cutscene was depressive, and I was like, oh shit, what the fuck? So I texted our friend who the hi Logan, if you ever see this, that really was really into Persona. I'm like, is this how it's supposed to be? And he's like, no, when you're at this part, you have to select dialogue. Like, I wouldn't have known that at all. Like, that's what I was supposed to do. So I had to look, and I had to ask a friend to be like, is this what I'm supposed to do? And he told me, he didn't tell me the dialogue choices I had to make, but just saying that I had to select the right ones at that point to get like the real ending and get to the real last dungeon and last boss, essentially. They haven't done that in any other Persona, not 5, not 3, I think, but admittedly, I haven't beaten that one yet. But it's just really frustrating that you can't get like the real ending in 4 until you get to this part that's really hard to get back to unless you do this string of dialogue options that is like really, really close to each other. Like it's not obvious what you're supposed to pick at all. You really just have to feel it out, essentially. But yeah, that's kind of my rant on that. That's just my example of just like it's not what I would describe as real backtracking in terms of gameplay, but it makes you retread. Backtracking and dialogue options, I guess, as rare as that might be, but backtracking and just cutscenes, because you have to replay the same fucking cutscenes to get another go around at it, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of reminded me of like the Cyberpunk. If it's like there's two, I think there's like two specific endings with Johnny that he only gives you if you wait in this one dialogue option. If you did like another dialogue option perfectly out of, there's like, I think it's 3 chances. It's like the same thing. It's like 3 questions and you have 3 different answers, 3 or 4 different answers, but there's only one for each that is actually correct, and you have to do it in the perfect sequence. And that's like maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours before like it actually becomes important later on. But it's like after that, you wouldn't actually know if you did it right unless you waited like almost exactly 5 minutes. And when he asks you, hey, how do you want to tackle this last mission? It was like you have to sit there in the rain while he's looking at you, and then he'll eventually say, all right, we've been waiting in here for 5 minutes for no reason. I got another option for you.
What does he really say when you? Are you talking about when you're like choosing what finale you do?
Yeah, pretty
like,
much.
What does he? What option does he give you?
I forgot if he gives you 2 or specifically 1, but like both of them are like more or less the same thing. But pretty much, he gives you the choice where it's like you can either just like while he's in the 5 minutes he asks you, was like, so it's clear that you don't want to do this. So like, do you just want to end yourself and not have this ending? Or do you want to have a similar ending, but you want someone else to kill you? So you just do the mission completely by yourself. And if you die at any point, then it considers like that you just off yourself. So it's just like, it's pretty much the same ending, but it's done differently.
Oh, okay.
But it's like the only way you can get it. So it's like if you messed it up and you waited 5 minutes and he doesn't say anything, then it's like, well, you got to do like 2 hours worth of stuff again. So it's just really annoying. But
well, again, at least that's like optional. You know, that's like a secret little finale ending.
No, but that's the best part. To get the sequence to even get that option later on, he wants you to go find his grave. But that's not a requirement for the mission that that it's like offered to you. That's an optional thing. The thing that you actually have to do has nothing to do with what he's asking you, which is really weird. So like there's like 2 different points where you can miss it. It was like just not listening to him and doing what he wants you to do, or like messing up that whole sequence. It was like,
unironically, I kind of want to go back and because I did do that side mission. I kind of want to go back to the nearest save and do that now because I'm kind of tempted to. Because if it's just me versus Arasaka, I want to see how hard it's gonna be. Because I did the same thing as you. I did the Aldi Kalkos ending, so you had the tank and shit. But I'm just like, I am the tank. I want to be a 1-man army, just charge in there by myself. I kind of want to do that.
Well, it's funny because like I looked up. There's like I had to look up the endings because I was curious. But I also did like see like the sequence that you had to do, and it specifically said you had to do like that sequence. But I was like, considering it's like you pretty much do more or less the same thing as Arasaka. I think you just enter through the front door, and rather than underground. But I would have failed what that like those suicide runs because I almost immediately died to Atom Smasher.
I mean, Atom Smasher did, like, I did, when I fought Atom Smasher, he did one-shot me with the missile barrage because I didn't understand what he was doing until I was already dead. But it's the second time around when I knew what that attack was, I was like, oh, because the game does that dumb thing where I'm, like, beating his ass, and then when he got to 50% health, he's just invincible, so he can teleport somewhere and actually get a lick in on me. And then as soon as he gets down, just sitting there doing, like, 8% of his health a punch. Like, he wasn't, when he shot me, I was like, nothing you could do could possibly, and I just turned into a stain on the floor, because he fucking shot like 800 missiles at me. I was like, oh, okay, never mind, I'm not invincible, but that was still like a lot of missiles, okay? That was a lot to kill one man. Give me credit.
Yeah, it's like he's a tough fight. It's like I had to do a lot of backtracking when I died to him because I didn't save beforehand because like the second I got close to the door, it immediately started the fight. I was like, oh crap, I wasn't ready for this. So I had to do like maybe 45 minutes worth of stuff. But it's funny because that fight is like, regardless of what build you have, or like he's still an issue because while he got you because you got surprised. So like, I tried to like stop him from doing any of his abilities, but it's just like if I stop him from moving by disabling his legs, he just pulls out Gatling guns and starts shooting at me with a million bullets. But if I turn off all his cybertronics, then he just comes running at me and punches me in the face. So it's like I can't get away from this dude. It was just really it was an annoying fight, especially because I wasn't as bulky as you are.
Yeah, my person's a fucking tank, but like I said, even a tank will crumble under 8,000 missiles shoved in your ass.
Yeah,
a lot of tangents in this episode.
I mean, I was like, Cyberpunk is a good one because there's like a lot of fights that you can die from, and then you do have to do things over again, and then like it saves before and after you make an important choice. So it's like if your choice is like not what you thought it was, like a lot of them are. It's just
that game's terrible for like hello, and then it's just like hello, asshole, I'm gonna kill you. It's like, oh, that's not what I wanted to say. That's not what the dialogue option was.
Yeah, but and like some of the dialogue is just like it's very weird. It's like it's one for one. It's not what you thought it sounded like when you read it. But then also everyone takes it a lot lighter than what it was like what you actually expect. It was like, hey, fuck face. It was like, oh, hello. It's like that's not what I expected you to say. But all right, I guess I'll roll with this.
Right.
But it's like it saves in a way where you can't actually do things over again. Just because like, hey, this is a very like story affected game. So it's just like you can't like do things that you did like 5 hours ago. Because like it doesn't have that many save slots. I actually had to delete like almost all my saves, like 4 times throughout the entire playthrough, because it doesn't go by like how much memory you have on the system. It goes by how much it's willing to let you save. So it's like if you did something 5 hours ago, you probably won't be able to do that again because you already deleted it, or you've been saving on the same file over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, hey, if you really didn't like your choice, so like you better think about like how much stuff you got to redo.
Yeah, it's like how long am I willing to say? How much of my life is worth of what I've already spent to redo what I just did?
Yeah, so if you're gonna do those other endings, I hope you have a save file for it.
I should have a save file fairly close. At least the autosave system's fairly decent. I mean, they already beat the game. As long as I'm close enough just to redo the finale, it'd be tempting. Just for the shits and giggles. I was already planning on playing the game again anyway, so I might just play the whole game again and just do that ending that time, you know? So
I mean, I will say it's like autosave is like one of the development qualities of life God sends about not doing things over again just by mere mistakes, like the power going out and like mid game. But and for the ending of Cyberpunk, when you do get an ending, it puts you right back to the final mission where you're locked into an ending of your choice. So like that's a good thing about it. Because it does the autosave for you, but it already knows like, hey, you actually completed the game on the file, but why don't you try a different ending? Because there's like 7.
Well, I think that was where, like, we were, as you said, and as I found out, that the fucking main quest is like only a handful of hours long, but they kind of made up for it in the fact that there's just so many different kinds of endings you can get or finales that you can do. So
I just wish they weren't so depressing.
that's the theme, man. It's the theme of the story. Everything sucks balls. Choom.
I mean, it's like you're a hero. It's just like I was like, I'm a hero, but everything still sucks. Like,
You're a fucking gangbanger. What are you talking about, hero? You're an asshole.
But I'm an asshole hero.
I'm an asshole. I'm commonly referred to as an anti-hero.
Yeah, I mean, it still has hero in the name.
I'm still cool.
Fair enough.
Do we have any trivia, Jordan?
Yes, we do. We have 3. The first question is, in which video game do you play as a bounty hunter, exploring alien planets and frequently backtracking to unlock new areas with newly acquired abilities? Is it A, Halo, B, Metroid, C, Destiny, or D, Warframe?
Star Wars bounty hunter.
Yeah. No, it definitely Metroid.
Oh, yeah.
But you could almost make an argument for like all of those. Well, Destiny probably more so.
Yeah, I was actually like Destiny.
Even
Warframe.
Like Warframe's similar.
Warframe's more like it's just like are you ready to spend hours of your life farming for a resource that you need to make something benign that'll also take 24 hours to craft unless you play platinum? That's the gameplay of that game.
Yeah.
It's also Destiny.
Cool as hell, but it's definitely that is a backtracking game for sure.
The answer was Metroid. Question number 2. In which game, known for its gothic atmosphere and intricate world design, involves players frequently revisiting previous areas to find new paths and secrets? Is it A, Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, B, Dark Souls, C, The Legend of Zelda, or D, Resident Evil?
I was literally just thinking of Bloodborne. Is like because that
Symphony
thing
of
is
the Night.
gothic and it is
Yeah,
backtracking
Bloodborne
too.
would have been a good answer for that, and you could almost argue Dark Souls, but I'm going to say Castlevania because of the Metroidvania aspect of it.
I'll just go with Dark Souls, just because I thought it was like, I was actually expecting to hear Bloodborne, so I was like, I guess I'll go with Dark Souls instead.
Yeah, Dark Souls.
The answer is Castlevania, Symphony of the Night.
Wait,
I've
why
never played it.
specifically Symphony of the Night? Is that like the most backtracking one?
I guess.
Yeah, because when you get to the end of the game, the freaking castle turns upside down or whatever, and you have to do the whole thing again.
How much of the game is the castle?
The whole thing.
Are you serious?
It's just different because you're on the ceiling now. I don't know. It's something like that. 'Cause it's the same BS that like Ghosts and Goblins does when it's like you beat the fucking game and the game's really hard, but guess what you just done? You actually get cursed and sent all the way to level 1 to have to come back and do this again. It's like, no, I don't. I can watch the credits on YouTube.
It's all castle all the time.
It's canceled day.
You literally just pick the level design and they're like, what if we flipped it on their head? And the guy's like, yeah, we'll do that exactly. He's like, no, I mean like suggestions. No, we're just going to run with the thing you said.
Turn the lights out. All right. Question number 3. In which game do players control a knight exploring a vast, interconnected world filled with insects, requiring significant backtracking to discover new abilities and areas? Is it A, Ori and the Blind Forest, B, Hollow Knight, C, Shovel Knight, or D, Cuphead?
I'm going to go with Hollow Knight.
You
said insect.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the only reason I'd pick
insects.
Hollow Knight. Yeah.
It's like
Yes.
it's like a knight traveling an interconnected world with incest.
That's exactly what I heard. That's why I was like, wait,
That's
what were
a-
the answers again? It was like, I don't think he said it right.
It's
That's
just
a
the
very
medieval
different
time. It's
game.
probably Kingdom Come.
Kingdom Come.
The answer was Hollow Knight. Without the incest.
Without the incest. There might be some.
Yes. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
Hey, this is Corey, and thanks for checking out Mediocre Rumble Brothers. If you liked the video, please drop a like, and if you didn't, that's fine too. If you'd like us to talk about any specific games, drop a comment below, or feel free to discuss your experience with the games that we've mentioned in the episode. You can also listen to our episodes prior to YouTube on our Spotify. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon.